Welcome to the Department of English, Government Postgraduate College, Attack. As you know that in the backdrop of the COVID-19, the colleges and all education institutions have been closed as this pandemic has spread widely. In order to stop its spread, all the government and private institutions, including educational as well, they were closed in emergency in order to save the time and career of students. Higher Education Department, Government of the Punjab decided to launch online classes for students. This would help them in the preparation for their exams, and this would also help in covering their syllabus because the precious time of the students is the prime concern of the department. So, in this way, we are delivering these online classes to acquaint you with the syllabus and also teach you your syllabus for MA English Part 2. I am Abdul Qayyum, Assistant Professor of English, Government College, Attack. I would teach you the paper of linguistics, that is in part 2. So, before starting the class or the topic, I would request you to please note a few points regarding these classes. Number one, uh, listen to these classes from beginning to the end. Number two, please note down the important points of the lecture. Number three, also prepare your own notes based on these lectures, which would help you in the preparation for the final exams. And if you have any query and there is some confusion about that lecture, WhatsApp group is there. You can freely share your questions there, and your queries will be answered. It is better to clear your lecture on the daily basis. So in this way, your preparation for the final exam would be in a good way. I would teach you Introduction to Linguistics. This is the fifth paper in M English Part 2, and in today's lecture, I would introduce linguistics, that what is actually meant by linguistics, and what is the role of linguistics in our daily life. So this is an introductory lecture regarding linguistics. Introduction to Linguistics. In this lecture, we will try to understand what do we mean by linguistics and what does it generally mean. Before studying in depth the different branches and the subfields of linguistics and all these, this would primarily focus upon the introductory part of linguistics. It is the scientific study of language and its structure. First of all, that linguistics is based upon the scientific study, that it follows the rule of science, how it is scientific, that it is not based upon any uh, points or the views that are not based upon any evidence. So, whatever is said or communicated or researched in linguistics is always based upon certain principles and upon evidence, and it follows the scientific procedure of the uh, research, in which we can see that first of all there is some observation and then the experiments and then some theories developed upon those information or the data that is collected. So in this way, it is scientific, that it is not studied subjectively, rather it is an objective way of studying language, and it is not an imaginary sort of thing, rather it is an objective view of studying language. And it also is concerned with the structure of language, that how a language is composed, uh, what is the arrangement of the words in the language. See that if we follow a certain structure, then we can derive some meanings from the language. But if the same words are not written or spoken in an order, then these words become meaningless. Suppose I say, I saw a car. So this is the structure, this is the sequence, that first of all I have put I as subject, then saw, verb, and then a car, an object. So this is the SVO, subject, verb, object order that is followed, and because of this order, the meanings are created. But if I use the same words, but I do not follow any sequence, suppose I say uh, saw, a car, I. These are exactly those words which I have used in the earlier sentence, but these words do not make any uh, sense. Why? Because it does not follow any proper structure. So structure of a sentence and the structure of words is very much important in producing sense or meaning. It involves the study of language form. Certainly, language has got its own form that is clear, and we can observe it in its use, the formation of the language and the language form that we see apparently, like we write the words and we speak the words. So they have got some form. One is the form and the other is the function. So this linguistics is also concerned about the form of the language. Suppose I say they invited guests. So they invited guests. So these words have got certain form, and they perform some action. But that form is also the interest of of linguistics. Language meaning, basically what is the use of the language is to produce meaning. That because we use the language for the purpose of communication, we want to convey something certainly. So that is the main focus of the language, is to produce meanings. Suppose I say that go and fetch me a glass of water. So this is the form of the language, but certainly this has got some meaning as well, and that conveys some message. So language is not the just mere the collection of the sounds or the words, rather it generates meaning. It is basically concerned with the generation of the meaning, and that makes the conversation or the communication meaningful. We derive the meanings from the utterances or the words that are written. Basically, we derive the meanings from that. So communication is based upon meaning. Or if these words are just not conveying any message, so language is not being used properly. Language in context. Again, language is understood in context, because if the context is unknown, then language cannot be understood. For the better understanding of the meanings, we need to know the context of the word. Suppose we see that I deposit the money in the bank, number one. Number two, I went to the bank of river to enjoy. So these are the two words in which the word bank has been used in similar way. So how do we know that which bank has been used, right? So in the first example, we see that I went to the bank to deposit a fee. So definitely this is the bank that deals with the money, with the money and all the transactions that we need to do. And the other bank for the enjoyment certainly is the place that we visit for the purpose of the recreation. So this is the way that we language creates and generates meaning based upon the context. It studies interplay of language and sound. For example, I'm uttering these words, but every sound has been given some meanings. If I say that this is language, you see that every word is understandable. Why? Because each sound has been given some meanings. But if I say oo, ah, shin, bu, kang, pang, like this. These are the sounds, but these sounds have not been assigned any meaning, so these sounds become meaningless. So basically, we use the meaningful sounds for the purpose of the language. So this interplay of language and sound is the main interest of linguistics. How sounds produce meanings. Linguistics looks at how social, political, and cultural factors influence language. Language receives impact from social, political, and cultural factors. And similarly, uh, language also affects social, political, and cultural factors as well, because it is two-way process. That language influences uh, the social milieu, and similarly it is also influenced by these social and political uh, concerns. So linguistics looks at and observes that, and what are the ways in which these factors have impact on language. So this uh, intricate relationship of discourse practices and social practices is the main concern of linguistics, because social practices influence uh, discourse practices, and similarly discourse practices also influence these social practices as well. It also observes the relationship between sound and meaning. As previously pointed out, that communication is based upon the meaningful sounds, because meaningful sounds produce uh, meanings. If meaningless utterances are made, they do not help in the process of communication. So, how sounds and meanings are interlinked, this is also the concern of linguistics. Language is context based, as previously pointed out, that language cannot be understood without context, because this is the background that provides uh, and assigns meaning to the language. If the background is not known, then language becomes meaningless, or it can create chaos, and it can create confusion among the listeners and the speakers. So, this is actually the context that assigns meaning to the language. Further, linguistics also looks at the growth and change of language over the time. Now, that language is not a static phenomena, it is growing phenomena. It keeps on growing. It doesn't stop at one point. And with the passage of time, it includes more and more words. And with the passage of time, some words disappear. Why? The language is followed and created according to the needs of the human beings, and the way the human beings need language and the words language produces them. And if they are no more required, with the gradual process, they disappear from the language. For example, in today's life, with the advent of mobile, with the arrival of mobile, a lot of the words have been used in the language. So language has grown. For example, uh, the tools related to cell phone. For example, there is SIM, and then internet, and then Google Drive, and email, and chat, and WhatsApp, and Facebook, and SIM jacket, and charger, and like all, there are countless words. They were not existing 100 years back, but now these words have been added into language. So this is the way that we know that language is always growing. See, and also it changes over the time. That if we look at English used by Chaucer, that is also English of the 14th century that you study. That is old English, but you see that how over these 6th and 7th centuries, uh, the words and the language underwent a change. If you compare uh, English of Chaucer with W.B. Yeats, you would find a lot of the changes in the same language. The language used by Chaucer is also English, and used by W.B. Yeats also English. But you would see amazing changes in these two points. So it also suggests that language keeps on changing with the passage of time. So languages are growing and changing phenomenon. Now we move to the role of linguistics in our lives, that how and what are the ways in which linguistics plays an important role in our lives. First of all, it increases our knowledge about world. In daily life, we communicate and we meet the people, and we deduce the things one thing to another. So that all that communication, that we share information, and we talk, and we keep on researching. We meet a doctor, we go to a grocery shop. So, what are we doing basically? We are using a language. So, this is adding to our knowledge about the world, because all the knowledge that is either communicated in spoken form or in the written form. In both forms, it is the language that helps us in understanding and increasing our knowledge about the world. Language is universal. It is not confined to any specific area, or rather, it is universal. How to teach language. This is also the concern of linguistics, because language teaching is a broader field, and the strategies and the successful ways that can help in teaching the language in more effective way. This is also the concern of linguistics, looking at how to teach English in proper and effective way. It also tells us how to use language linguistically after dealing with knowing the use of the language, because the use of language is the technical aspect is very important, and how to benefit the maximum from it. Uh, this is the field where linguistics has language values. See, we find different varieties of language, and there are certain variations in language. There are certain differences in language, and these differences can be the reasons could be geographical, gender, profession, academia, and much more. So this is the deep writing history. For example, if boy of interior and a girl of superior, they use the language, certainly their language is different. The topic, if the girls of 20 years, and the boys of 20 years, the boys with boys and girls with talk, the themes and the subject matter and the information that the girls will be sharing will be quite different from the boys. Why? Because their gender is different. Their interests are different because of the gender. Similarly, if the person, one is educated person, the other is uneducated person, certainly there would be variations in their language use as well. Similarly, geographical boundaries can also influence the use of the language. So, language variations and language varieties is also the concern of linguistics. Influence of language on thinking and vice versa. That is, like the language that determines our thinking, or is it the thinking that determines our language? This is a very much interesting phenomenon. But this close relationship of thinking and language, or language and mind and language, like this, that whether it is the language that determines our thought, or it is the mind that determines the language, is the concern of linguistics. And linguistics is a broad field with many subfields. Linguistics is not just the uh, some limited area. Rather, it has got the whole universe in it. So there are many fields and subfields that are there in linguistics. So we would be studying them in the upcoming lecture. So this is all for today about the introduction of linguistics and what is the role of linguistics in common life. I hope you would have understood the main concepts discussed in this class. If you have any question, you can ask in the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much for joining me today.